Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin Quibell, known to my friends as Marv, and this time I'm speaking with Lidia from Lidia's Booktastic podcast. Hey Lydia, thanks for speaking with me today.
Hello.
So, what's your favourite memory of reading?
Well, my favorite memory of reading was probably when I was in around senior infants, and then I was only like around 4 years old, and you have these readers to like help you read. So I was reading one, and I just read it in my head for the first time, and I felt amazing.
I remember one of my favourite memories of reading is at a place called Newark in England near Nottingham. There used to be what's called a children's library. And I went there when I was younger, and I used to have memories. I've got memories of being there in the back area, just sat down reading books for ages. And it's almost like sometimes a book you can get so carried away with a book that it's almost like you lose time completely while you're reading the book.
Yes. One time I was reading, and I read the whole book.
Yeah.
And I was reading for like 3 hours straight, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah, but it's fun when you do that, though, unless it's late at night and you should be asleep.
Yes, it is fun.
So, what's the history of the show then? How did you start the show and how did you get it off the ground?
Well, one time Dad was doing a podcast, and I walked into the office to get like a piece of paper or whatever while Dad was recording, and then he had to pause it. And then after he said, um how about me and you do a podcast together? And I was like, okay. So then we started the podcast, and we started with like really simple equipment, and then um we won a prize for like in this road microphones competition, and we won second place for because you did like a trailer for your podcast, and then we won second place, and we got the Roadcaster, and now we use the Roadcaster.
Well, it sounds great. So, when you're getting ready for the show, then, so for anybody who doesn't know the show, Lydia reads books and then she talks about the books, reviews them with her dad. Lydia's dad is the wonderful Ken Sweeney, who's the guy behind the European Network and the Comfortable Spot podcast. Shout out to you, Ken. So, what sort of research do you do beforehand? And do you take notes while you're reading a book, or do you just remember what you can when you come to the show?
Well, it depends on what kind of book it is. Like if I have read it, like say a few weeks ago, I'll write a few notes down. But if I've just finished reading it, then I would already have it in my head, and I don't need notes for it. And for the research, I mostly find books at like school and my local library, and then also in Woodbine Books, which is a shop in Kilcullen, and they're independent and they sell books there, and they have book club and everything.
I'm sorry about this, but I'm going to put in a question here that's not on the list. So, do you get free books now, or do you still buy the books yourself?
Well, sometimes people, if they want to get their book reviewed, they send us the book, but
Yeah.
we don't like accept people sending us books if we have to pay for it being shipped to us, because we just do it for free, and I just give my opinion on the book, and we'd only review the book if it's sent to us and we don't have to pay anything.
So, who does the recording in the editing of the show? Then is that your dad?
Yeah, Dad designs the pictures from Canva, and then he edits with Audacity.
Audacity, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like I said, we use the Rodecaster when we're recording and we use Rode microphones as well.
Okay. And after so long, you started doing interview shows. How did that come about? Was that something you wanted to do from the start, or is that something that just happened out of the blue?
Yeah, it kind of like just randomly happened because I think we met an author and then on when my dad was tweeting on Twitter, an author tweeted back, and then my dad thought of the idea, why don't we interview a few authors? So then we started interviewing a few people. We don't really do that anymore, but I think we should probably do it again since it was really fun.
Well, it certainly is different because you're, for want of a better way of saying this, you're of the age group where they're trying to target these books and these books that they're writing. And that makes it more interesting because rather than talking to just somebody that's their own age or older about a book, they're talking to somebody who that book is aimed at in the first place. So the conversation between you and the author is going to be much more interesting.
Yeah, and we always have to like beforehand we have to make the question, and then once that's done we have to like set up everything, make sure everything's like the connection's working, and then we just do it kind of.
So who picked the show music then? Was that yourself and your dad, or was it your dad, or did you pick the music? And what sort of experience was that like?
Well, my dad has this sound app thing, and it has lots of theme songs and things that you can use. And but dad was looking at them, and I was just like saying if I like them or not, and then we found the music that we use now.
Yeah, because it's a very happy piece of music, so it's almost like a bright introduction to the show.
Yes. Um. Well, once it was like we went through like 20 theme songs when we were looking for it.
Yeah. So the show art then, that wasn't always a picture of yourself, but how did that come about? Is that just a photograph that your dad took of you, or was it done
Yeah,
professionally?
dad dad takes pictures and then he also designs a few things using Canva.
Okay, and so what would you say is your favorite book, and why is it your favorite book?
My favorite book is probably Harry Potter and the Cursed Child because it's a script, it's a screenplay.
Yeah.
So it's just a book, as in the script in the book. And it uses it like there's actual part two, part one. And instead of their chapters, there's like scenes. And I just like reading scripts. So, and I'm a really big fan of Harry Potter. So I really like that book.
Yeah, there's definitely something different about reading scripts because I remember that in English literature, reading scripts for plays and for films. So, have you got any standout moments from the show?
Well, like I said, when we do interviews, and then in one episode we went to Celtic Con, and it was just we interviewed a few people who were selling things from the stalls there, and also when my sister Lucy comes on the podcast because sometimes we have her as a guest, and um she has her own books, and then we interview her.
Yeah, that's become more interesting recently because when it started, you were a certain age a few years ago, and now you're older now, so you've got Lucy coming into the show occasionally. So when you have those moments, you're reviewing books for different ages, which I think is really interesting. And did that come about as well by chance, or was that something that was happening anyway?
Yeah, it kind of came by chance because one time when we just finished doing the podcast, Lucy came to us and she was just like, "Can I be on the podcast?" So in the next podcast we did, she was in it, and she just got a few of her favorite books, and we just we just did it.
Well, she's certainly calmed down since the first time that she was on.
Yeah. So recently, Lucy started coming on it more frequently. Now she's kind of going to be on it every 2 episodes.
That's great. That's great. So, what advice would you give to people if they were starting their own podcast?
To make sure you have a good idea, and if you're first starting it and you're a bit unsure about it, and if you want to do an intro, just try doing a script, because every time I'm doing an intro, Dad on his computer, he always writes down like what I'm supposed to say, and I just read off it. And then you should practice, and then make sure you do sound checks before you start, and have fun.
Great. So, where can people find the show and how can they get hold of you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then you can listen on like Spotify, and you can also listen on YouTube because some of my episodes are on YouTube.
Are they video or are they just the podcast with a picture?
Yeah, they're podcast with a picture. And because we don't really have a video camera, but we're trying to get one. And then we might like start doing a few more things for our channel. But if you go onto our channel on YouTube, it's mostly just like the podcast and then just a picture.
Is that a picture of the podcast image or is it a picture of the book that you're reviewing?
Well, it's a picture of me holding the book, kind of. Yeah, like it's just me with the book.
That's good. Anyway, thank you for speaking with me today, Lidia.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can go on, Ken.
No. Go on, go ahead. I was just going to say thanks a million. That was really great. I really enjoyed that. But anyway, you guys go ahead.
Before I do the sign out, is there anything else you wanted me to get in there, Ken, Lidia?
Just 1 second. No, just to say that we always take books in as well. So if anybody has some books that they wanted us to review, we would love to do that. We have just the one stipulation is that they need to be in a book form. We don't accept PDFs or easy readers or anything like that because it's important that Lidia actually has the book, and it's to try and keep her away from technology as much as possible, which is almost impossible. So a book, I think, is the best way to read. So if people do have a book that they'd like us to review, as long as it's like, say, under 12 years of age, and self-published books as well, but we generally review books from official publications and so on. But yeah, we're open to ideas.
I was tempted to touch on to a subject I'd heard about, which is that according to a statistic, it's a terrible statistic in my mind, but did it say something like 98% of children under the age of 10 years old don't actually own any physical books anymore, and they're all on like Kindles or on devices?
Yeah,
which I think's awful in a way.
I think I'm hoping that that's not a statistic that would probably run here in Ireland, the UK, maybe in Europe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Lydia's half Polish, so we have a strong connection to Poland. Her grandparents are there and her mum is Polish. So all the kids that we know in Poland, they don't have electrical devices under that age.
Yeah.
Some of them might have phones, but they'd be very basic phones. But they'd all be reading books. So I think it depends. I mean, it probably depends on wherever that survey was done. I'm hoping, but I definitely in her own school, there's a huge push for real books rather than electronic devices. Like you recently refurbished your library, didn't you, Lidia, in your school?
Yeah.
What was that like? Was that good?
Now they completely went through the books and cleaned them, like sorted them, and it's way more sorted than it was because there were books everywhere all over the place.
And they're updated as well, aren't they? They're new books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think every school should do that rather than encouraging parents to buy tablets and Apple readers or whatever, I mean, look, there's the argument against cost, isn't there, Marv? Like people will say, oh, it's like, buying an electric car, the overall investment will pan out. So if you buy a tablet for your child and they can read 100 books rather than paying for 100 books. But I just think there's downsides to that, it can be a dangerous door to something else. And if parents aren't keeping an eye on that, children can go down the rabbit hole, which is not too good. But there's not like we don't come in. If I come in and I see Lydia, it's 10 o'clock at night, it's the weekend, and she's reading a book, I'm not going to be so quick to tell her to turn the light off, because I think it's a good way to relax and wind down the day by reading a good book. So I just think books are very healthy, to be honest, Marv. I think they really develop good things in human beings, and we've had them for 2,000 years. And they haven't failed us, really. It's all about what people write in them, I suppose, but you can still. The good thing about a book, and I sum this up by saying this, is that when it's on the shelf, it has to tell you what it's about.
Yep.
So you can decide whether you want to read that book or not. But with like stuff like that's online, the vast majority of it can lie to you or deceive you. And that's the problem. So books aren't, in my opinion, they like to ban books in some places now, and it's becoming this crazy idea. Yep. I don't see why, because you can always leave a book on the shelf if it's not what you want or what you want your children to read. You shouldn't have to stop everybody else from reading it.
No, it's true.
So that's how I sum it.
Yep. Anyway, you can find Pods Like Us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and we are available at podslikeus@gmail.com. And I'm just going to be really cheeky and just say this, that thank you to Jared Carter for being my first Patreon, or first patron, subscriber on Patreon, patreon.com/podslikeus. Thank you so much for that. That surprised me last night while I was driving around and got a notification at work. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening, and hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us.
Hi, Marv. How are you?
I'm okay. I hope you're all in a comfortable spot.
We are indeed. Hang on a second here. Now, okay. So Lydia's going to be taking the helm here today.
Yep.
So you want to say hello to Marv?
Hello.
Are you feeling better?
Yes.
Good.
There's a little bit of a distortion on your mic, Martin. Is that normal? Can you hear that on me?
I can turn it down. Hold on.
No, it's a signal, I think.
Ooh.
I think it
Is
might
that
be
any better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so Lydia has all the questions here, right? The only one we were wondering about was show history. What do you mean by that, Martin?
About what's the history of the show, how did it come about, and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
She's got that. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so she's ready to rock and roll when you are. Does her sound okay?
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, I won't be really involved, so she has all her questions ready to go. So you're going to get exclusive access, Martin.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So whenever you're ready, you go ahead.
So, thank you very much for that, guys. Was that okay? Yep.
Welcome. Yeah, it was brilliant. Did you enjoy that, Lydia?
Yes.
Very serious, actually. We should have been a bit more mental. We're normally a bit more mental. Yeah. We thought we'd do a calm one for you today. We just did an hour with Lucy, so it was a bit mental.
Yeah. Like every time, most of the time, even when Lucy's not on, we just like go completely away from the book and start talking about Tom Cruise and movies.
Be back in a second. Yeah.
Did you enjoy Top Gun Maverick, or have you not seen that yet?
I've watched Top Gun Maverick, as in the newer one, Top Gun Maverick, but I haven't watched Top Gun.
Yeah, I thought Top Gun Maverick was fantastic.
Yes, it was. Yeah, she loved it. But your Mission Impossible is her favorite film now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is Lucy. Look,
Lucy.
Say hello.
Hello. You did very well on that new episode.
Thank you.
Here, up here.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that.
Tell Marv what you're going to be doing now from now on.
from now on, I will be sometimes joining the podcast from like 2 or 3 episodes. Then I'll be joining.
That's great. Because then you get a book for people your age and a book for people Liddy's age.
I sometimes even pick chapter books.
What's your favourite book then, Lucy?
I actually don't know, but I have a series of favorite books. Dogman.
Yep. I've heard you talking about those. What's your favourite book at the moment that you're reading now?
I'm not really reading any because I read Dogman, but I read them like straight away and then finish. So technically, but what I'm always reading is Dogman. So I guess I'm reading Dogman right now.
But you'll have to read new books now.
But your plan seems to be working where you're both taking over and throwing your dad off the show.
So you can see that's what it's going to be like every second or third podcast.
I'm
So
not
is
going
that
to stick my tongue out.
Go on, get it.
I said it'd turn to chaos.
I told you, yeah, I know. Yeah, it always does. Is that enough for you, Marv? Have you got enough time on that for for an episode? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. I'll just put another episode out that's sort of like, I like the little shorter length ones, like I did with Nefemi the other day, the other week.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, you won't get any much longer out of them too, you know. So
No. I was just saying to Lucy that it seems to be working, the plan for them to take over and to throw you off the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, she has a plan. She wants to do something on animals or something, but I can't allow that. They would just be mental. We'd have to actually see animals, and then God knows what would happen, you know. So we'd have to figure out something else, you know. Yeah, come on. Out.
I've got images of the famous Blue Peter where they had the elephants and the poo on the floor. Yes.
Yeah, you'd have to be old enough as you and me to do that, you know.
I listened to your episode. I mean, it's a long time after, but that episode with Nick Dearden last night that I listened to, that was great.
Oh, I knew you'd like that. Yeah, I knew you'd like that. He's good.
Really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Nick is great. Very nice guy as well, you know. Yeah, I read that book. The book's brilliant, actually. I have it here. It's a brilliant book because you and I would relate to all the protagonists in that book, actually. You know, there's a good few that you and I would probably been well into, especially like, you know, the drummer from Frankie Goes to Hollywood and all that, you know, like you imagine like just going in the dole queue after being in Frankie Goes to Hollywood. It must have been horrific.
Yeah. That one with Kevin Rowland.
Yeah.
Where he was in the dole queue and they got one of his songs on the radio and everybody's singing along to it and there he's signing on.
I mean, that would be just you can imagine like what that would happen to, like, you know, it's crazy. So Marv, look, I'll let you go. These two are dying for dinner here.
Okay.
So
I haven't even had lunch.
I know. Yeah. Thanks a million for that. That's brilliant.
I'll let you get on and get your dinner then. Okay.
Yeah, Marv, thanks a million. And if you need anything else, just let me know. Will I send you over any links around like that, or are you okay?
You can send me the links if you want, so I can just put them into the details.
She's discovered a video camera. You can see. That's why we don't do video camera.
You don't normally use video, do you?
No, absolutely not. This is why I dread YouTube. It would be a nightmare before and Lucy. The amount of editing I'd have to do on it.
I'm going to make Lydia laugh now. So one of the jobs that I do, they have face recognition. So when I go into the building, it has a camera that picks me up and then it lets me in the building. It won't let anyone in the building unless it recognizes you. So I come up to this face recognition camera and I pull stupid faces at the camera. I'll be like this and do stupid faces at it.
And it still recognizes you.
Sometimes.
That's like the Mission Impossible where you had to recognize how he walked. Do you remember? Yeah, the gait recognition. Yeah.
We watched all 6 of those last week in a binge.
She watched all 6 in a week over Christmas.
We did that.
What was your hate? What was the one you loved the most?
Probably
the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first one or the last one. But the one I hated the most was the second.
The hair. You said the hair was just ridiculous on him.
So bad.
The second one was when he had really long hair. John Woo directed it, and I said to her, before I said to her, now listen, Lydia, there's going to be a lot of birds and pigeons and stuff in this. Yeah. And she was like, didn't believe me until
his hair is all like,
Yeah, there's a slow motion bit where he's on the beach fighting the guy and he does a somersault and his hair comes like 2 seconds later, you know? So it's like, she just start roaring and laughing at me through.
Right. Go and enjoy your dinner.
All right, Marv. Have a good
Thank you very
afternoon,
much.
right?
What's
Thank you. Take care,
Get in
mate.
touch with me.
All right.
See you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
reactions?
Bye.
It's reactions.
Say bye-bye, Lucy.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Lucy.
Bye.
What's